Hello Sumates, yeah, welcome back to my channel once again. So in today's tutorial we are going to be making this palazzo jumpsuit you see here. So this is a waist pleated jumpsuit, and I have a similar tutorial already on my channel, but if you have not watched this tutorial, this is another opportunity for you to learn how to make this beautiful waist pleated jumpsuit. Okay, so this jumpsuit doesn't have any half cut, it doesn't have any joining on the waist side. Okay, but as you can see, it's very gorgeous, it's very as in comfortable, and is not that difficult to make. Okay, so if this is what you love to learn, I urge you to stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Okay, and also do well to subscribe to my channel if you have not done so, so that whenever I drop tutorials like this you get notified. You can also like this video, share it, and drop a comment for me. Remember, I appreciate that. So this fabric here is what I'm going to be using, and I have about 3 years of fabric here. Okay, so I am going to go ahead to fold this fabric into two. So we're going to be cutting the front part first. After cutting the front part, we are going to go over to the back part. Okay, so that is what I'm going to do now. All right. Okay, so I proceeded to fold it into two as well, as you can see, and I'm going to be marking about 3.75 here. That is what I'm doing here. So I'm setting this 3.75 aside for our front crotch. Okay, so that is what you do. Once you are done folding your fabric into two, you are going to set aside your crotch line, your crotch allowance, I mean. Okay, so after that I measured from my shoulder to my waist, then from my waist to my crotch line, and also my hip line, as you can see. Okay, so please, if your normal regular crotch is 12 inches, please make this one 13.5, so that you can have that freedom. Okay, remember, it doesn't have any joining on the waist. Okay, so after I was done marking the lines, I went on to label them, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to divide my shoulder to shoulder measurement by 2, and I'm going to mark it. Remember, this is a cut together, so that means that I'm going to be marking my sleeve length as well here. So I went on to mark my sleeve length, and I'm just going to measure what I have there, and I'm going to mark it down to this point. Okay, so I'm going to mark it down, okay, to achieve a straight line. Okay, so after that I am going to slope the shoulder into two, and I'm going down, sorry, and I'm going to measure my neck depth, neck width, which is 3 inches, and my neck my shoulder slope as well. So I'll connect the neck to the shoulder slope of 1 inch. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure my round sleeve. It's 10 inches I'm using for my round sleeve, and I'm going to be adding extra allowance to it of 1.5 inches. Can you see? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to use this line here as our bust point line. So I'm going to mark my bust point divided, my bust circumference divided by 4, and I'm going to mark on it, and after that I will be adding extra 7 inches to it. So this 7 inches is going to be for our pleating on the waist. Okay, so we also need to add it on the bust point line, even though the pleat will reach there, but it's also necessary around here. So I proceeded to mark it, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my waist circumference divided by 4 on this waistline here, and I'll add another 7 around 8 inches this time. Okay, so I added 8 inches to it and connected it to the bust point line. Okay, so that is what I just did here. Okay, so after that, the next thing I'm going to do now is to go down now to the hip line. Okay, so the hip line is this next line after my waistline, and I'm going to divide my hip circumference by 4 as well, and I'll be adding around 6.5 inches to it. Okay, so I went on to mark, and I connected it to the waist circumference line and up to the bust point line as well. Okay, so after I was done doing that, I'm going to measure what I have from this line where I mark my hip circumference. I'm going to measure what I have there to the folded end, that is the line of my 3 inches, and I'm going to mark it all the way down. Okay, so I prefer to use my free hand to just mark it all the way down. Okay, to connect the lines all the way down into a straight line. Can you see it? So what that is what I'm trying to do here, and I am just hoping that you can see the chalk marking here. Okay, so I was not doing that, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to go over to the crotch allowance. Okay, I'm going to go to the crotch allowance. So this line here, remember, is our crotch line. Okay, so over to these 3.75 inches that I set aside, I am just trying to make this line very visible as much as possible. Okay, so because it seems the light is actually disturbing the brightness of what I am doing. Okay, so you can see the crotch line. I'm going to measure from here 1.5 inches. That is just what I measured, and I'm going to blend it to the remaining part of the crotch extension. Okay, I'm going to blend it like this. Okay, I proceeded to blend it. Can you see it? Okay, so I want you to follow every step and every inch of what I'm saying, so that you'll be able to understand this what I'm saying. And believe me, if you follow it clearly, you are going to be able to recreate exactly what look like this, or the ones that look more better than mine. Okay, so I proceeded to connect that 1.5 inches to the crotch line here. Okay, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to measure the neck depth I am working with. Okay, so this is a v-neck line, and I measured 7 inches from the shoulder line down, and I'm going to pick up my ruler to connect it in a v shape. Okay, so after connecting it, I am going to show you what we have. Okay, so this is what we have after I was done connecting, and I'm going to extend this 7 inches neck depth here and measure 0.5 inches. This 0.5 inches is because our front, the center front, we are going to cut it into two, like it's going to be into two pieces, so we need allowance to join them together back again to become one, and that is why I am adding 0.5 inches to the line. Okay, remember we started all our marking from this after this 3.75, remember? So it was inside the 3.75 that I now marked extra 0.5 inches to the bodies. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark on the line that is below the crotch line. Okay, so here I'm going to be marking 2 inches. Okay, I'm going to be marking 2 inches. So inside that 3.75, I marked is 2 inches starting from the line. Okay, I marked 2 inches starting from the line, and I connected it to the crotch extension line. Do you see it? I connected it to this crotch extension line, and I'm going to take that 2 inches down to the hem. Okay, I hope you understand what I am doing here. I'm just going to take it straight down to the hem, and after that it will be time for us to cut out. Okay, okay, so I was done marking. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to mark my pleats. Okay, so I'm going to measure starting from this line 4 inches. I'm measuring 4 inches, then from that 4 inches I'll measure another 4 inches, then from this 4 inches again I measure another 4 inches, then I'll measure another 4 inches from the line again, and these are the lines I'm going to use to make my plate. So I'm going to further divide all the 4 inches into two. So by so doing, I have 2 inches by 8. Okay, I have 2 inches by 8. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I will pick 2 inch, then sew on each. That is, I'm going to sew 1 inch as that. Okay, I'm going to pick the 2 inches and sew on it to have 1 inch as that, then leave the 2 inches near it, pick the next one, and so I'm just going to do that and show you. Okay, but if you don't understand, then you have to um you're just going to pay attention to it, okay, when I'm sewing it. So I am cutting out now, and once I'm done cutting out, it will be time to cut out the back part. Okay, so I was not cutting. Can you see what we have here? Okay, so what I'm going to do here now is to set this one aside, and I'm going to fold another paper fabric, sorry, and that is what I have done here. And I placed the one we just cut out, which is the front part, on it. So remember, the one I just folded, the back part I'm going to cut out now, is also folded into two, and I made sure that I have extra 2 inches here. Okay, you know that the back crotch line is always bigger because of the hip at the back. Okay, so I made sure that I have extra 2 inches, okay, at this crotch line here. I have 2 inches, okay. So I place the front part starting from that 2 inches, okay. So what I'm going to do is to measure another 1.5 2 inches here, sorry, and I'm going to blend it to the end of the folded part of the fabric. Can you see it? And from the front line, I'm going to measure in 2 inches, okay. So from where I place the front line, the front part, I'm going to measuring out 2 inches. So these 2 inches is going to serve two purposes, and one of the purpose is going to serve is as the back crotch allowance, then as also the zipper allowance for the back, okay. So these are the two purposes those 2 inches I am marking right now is going to serve, okay. So remember that the crotch line is always shallow, okay. So it's not always as deep as the front, the crotch, I mean the crotch line for the back is always shallow. It's not as deep as the front crotch. So I measure from my shoulder down to my half length, that is my waist, okay, and that is what I mark there. The next thing is to mark my neck depth for the back, which is 2 inches, okay. So that is what I am using for the neck depth for the back, and I proceeded to bring my ruler. So before I do that, I'm marking the allowance to connect it up to the shoulder line here, that is the upper part, the neckline here. And I'm going to place my ruler like this to connect my the back neck curve, okay. So that is what I am doing here, okay. So I proceeded to connect, and the next thing I'm going to do is to eliminate bulge around the waistline for the back. So I went in by 0.75 on this waistline, okay, the zipper allowance of this waistline here. So I went in by 0.75, and I'm just going to curve it out to the upper part, and also curve it out to the down part towards the crotch line for the back this way, okay. So to blend that point very well, that is what I just did here, okay. So I hope you are seeing what I am doing, okay. So that is what I was just done here, and as you can see it there, okay. So the next thing I'm going to do now is the below the crotch line. I am also going to measure in 2 inches from where the front part stop. I'm measuring 2 inches again from the crotch line, okay, and I will measure it all the way down to the hem of the fabric, okay. So that is also the allowance for the back part. I hope you get that. So I will measure and mark all the way till I reach to the hem of this jumpsuit. Okay, so I was done marking, and the next thing I'm going to do now is to pick up my scissors, and I'll cut out, okay. So that is just the difference between the back and the front, the crotch line there and the zipper allowance. So I'll proceed to cut out, and after cutting out, I am going to mark exactly where around the waistline where we are going to be making our pleats. I'm going to duplicate it also on the back part. Okay, so I was done cutting, and the next thing I'm going to do is to measure from my shoulder to my waist. Okay, that is what I just did here, and I'll mark on the on this line of the waistline. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to go up above the waistline by 3 inches and come down below the waistline by 4.5 inches, and I'm just going to mark into a straight line with my ruler. Okay, so I'm going to mark here. So after marking, it will be time for us to mark the 4 inches pleating allowance, just as we did for the front part. Okay, okay, so I was done marking it, and I proceeded to mark 4 inches also. And after marking the 4 inches, I also marked out to 2 inches. Can you see the lines? So I already divided the 4 inches again into two inches. Okay, so that when I pick one 2 inch to sew on, as exactly as we sew that, I'll leave the 2 inch close to it, then pick the next 2 inches and sew, and leave the one close to it and pick the next. So that is how I'm going to be sewing it. Okay, so my previous tutorial on how to make this jumpsuit, pleated waist jumpsuit, has the well detailed explanation on how to make this pleat. So if you seem not to get it here, I urge you to also watch that one so that you understand very well. So another thing I did was to cut out the lining, that is the facing for the neckline, and this is the front part of the facing. This is the front facing for the front neckline, and I also cut out the back neckline facing, and this is what we have here. So the next thing I did was to cut out my pocket as well. So if you don't know how to cut pockets, just place your hand this way, cut measure 2 inches below and above, and cut out this shape we have here. Okay, so next thing we are going to do now is to start making our pleat. So I went to my machine and I pleated. You see what I just said? So I pleated, pick 2 inches and pleat. Once you pleat, you have 1 inch, and this is the front part. So I pleated. As I was pleating, I was measuring to ensure that I have my round waist circumference divided by 2, and I also joined the center front together, the two center front together. Do you see it? Okay, so that is what we have here. Okay, so the next thing I did was to join the shoulder of the front with the shoulder of the back. I did that after making pleats on the back part as well. Can you see? I made my pleat on the back part, and the pleat is very nice. Like this trouser jumpsuit is very fine. Okay, like you will love it if you try it. Okay, so after I was done making the pleat for the back as well, I proceeded to join the shoulder line of the back with the front. Okay, can you see it? And I am going to open iron it. So note that I also did the same on the lining piece. I joined the front shoulder and the back shoulder as well, and also join the center front, okay, of the lining piece. Can you see it here? Okay, so I proceeded to join them, and I'm going to take it to my ironing table and iron. The next thing I did was I sew my pocket. Okay, so after I was done doing that, it will be time for sewing it. So after opening ironing this place, I am going to place the neckline and sew it. So I also open iron the neckline. Okay, so I'm going to place it like this: the front part of the fabric, I am going to place the front part of the lining piece on the front part of the fabric as well, and aligning the center front of the lining piece with the center front of the fabric, and I'll join. Okay, so I was now joining, and I neatly notched and top stitch, and also made a one time folding on the lining piece. Can you see? Okay, so I also proceeded to hem this with 0.25, and I'm going to make the proper hemming with my hemming gum. I'm going to hem it down in place with my hemming gum later. Okay, so I did that on the second part here as well, as you can see. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to go over to my machine, and I am going to join the sides. Okay, So I will join the sides. I will mark where I'm going to join the side, and I will also sew my pocket. So I proceeded to join the side, and I'm just going to measure from my shoulder to my waistline, and that is this line where I started where I stopped my joining, and I measure 7 inches down. This is where I'm going to put my pocket. Okay, so I am going to go ahead to sew my pocket, but before I do that, I'm going to join the crotch line. Okay, so I'm going to join the crotch line, and I'm going to also attach my zipper to it. Okay, so I'm going to subtract my zipper allowance and join the crotch line, and that is what I've already done. Okay, so I join my crotch line with 0.5 inches. Okay, so the next thing we are going to do is to sew my zipper. After I was done sewing my pocket, I'll sew my zipper as well. Okay, so when I was done doing that, I'm going to bring it when I'm done doing that, I'll bring it back for us to see. Okay, so I'm going to open up this place like this and open up the pocket part as well, and I'm going to sew the front part of the pocket, that is the right side of the pocket. I'll sew it down with the right side of fabric and do that on the left hand side as well. Then do duplicate repeat the same thing on the other side. So that is what I was done doing, and I went on to overlock the inside neatly. So I'd like to explain something here. Remember, I marked 4.5 inches below my waistline for this waist plating. So I later used 2.5 inches below instead of 4.5 inches, and the 3 inches above the waistline still stand. That is what I used, but I sensed that it would be too long if I use the 4.5 inches below the waistline. That is why I reduced it to 2.5 inches, and it was just perfect after I was done sewing with that 2.5 inches. I hope you understand what I explained. Okay, so I'm going to turn it to the right side. Okay, thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe if you have not done so. Also drop a comment for me. I will really appreciate that. Like this video and share it. Thank you so much for watching. Please stay tuned so that when I drop another tutorial, you get notified.